Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our day 2 of the virtual First Nations Guardians Gathering for 2021. We're so thrilled to have you all join us today. As people join and log into our Zoom session this morning, we want to encourage everyone to chat with us. So in the chat feature, I'm seeing already some beautiful well wishes. Please let us know how you're doing this morning, where you're joining us from. To enable your chat feature, there's a chat icon in the middle of your panel at the bottom. You just click it and you can send us a message that way. As people are joining, I just want to remind anyone who may be experiencing any technical details that you can reach our tech support team via email through help@ilinationhood.ca. Good morning, good morning. It's wonderful to see people from all over Canada joining us. Okay, let's get started. Just as a reintroduction for anyone who may have missed yesterday, my name is Dati Tetso Suje. I'm the Deputy Director of the Indigenous Leadership Initiative, and I'm so happy to see you all today. I hope yesterday you were able to capture our live stream on Facebook. And if you missed it, you can go to the ILI Facebook page and see a recording of that video from yesterday. I was incredibly energized and inspired listening to the perspectives of the young Guardians who shared yesterday. And I think you will be too, if you caught it or if you're going to capture it. That brings us to the theme of today, which is the very heart of Guardian work. So we have a great agenda lined up. Yesterday's event was live streamed through Facebook and open to the public, but today and our coming days are for registered participants only. We did that because we knew it was important to create a space where Guardians could connect with one another. And we are hoping that our virtual sessions today and the coming days creates that space for Guardians, leaders, and those who support Guardians to have those connections. So we've designed 2 virtual spaces for us all. And the first we refer to as a Big Tent session. And in fact, that's what we are in right now. Big Tent session. And when we refer to Big Tent, it means that we are all together, all registered participants in a plenary session. The Zoom link for our Big Tent sessions are the same every day. You would have received the link in your participant guide. And at the top of every morning, that link will come to you via email as a reminder. If you're having any issues accessing that link, or if you know of any colleagues or friends who are missing links, I'd encourage you all to check your junk email folders. Sometimes the automated systems that we're using end up in junk folder. So check your junk folder, encourage your friends to check your junk folder if anybody's missing their links. So the second virtual space is what we refer to in our agenda as small tent sessions. And in these small tent sessions, we try to create a virtual space where we can have small group discussion. We chose Zoom as our virtual platform, and we stubbornly stuck to Zoom because we knew everyone was familiar with this as a tech platform. Unfortunately, Zoom has technical limitations, and in order for us to enable small group discussion, which we felt was important for our virtual gathering, we had to create 4 small tent sessions. So effectively, to get to small tent, when we get to that part of the agenda, what we're going to ask everyone to do is to leave our Big Tent setting. There's that little leave red button at the bottom of your screen. You'll have to leave your the Big Tent setting and reference your participant guide, your email with your Zoom link for your unique small tent meeting. We will have 4 small tents set up and 4 great moderators in each of those small tents. Although we'll be in 4 small tents separate as of 4 separate groups, it will feel like we're all together because we'll be going through the same materials all at the same time. So don't worry if that feels a little confusing to you right now. We do have our help email set up in order for you to get tips if you need them. Also, we'll go through these instructions as we come to small tent. So today in our big tent, we have a great agenda lined up, and we can insert a link to the agenda in our chat box so that you can access that and take a look. There are going to be all kinds of great things set up so that way you have access to all the information as you need it in real time. A unique landing page on our website was created just for the gathering. I'm just going to ask our tech team to drop that link in the chat box so that way you can see that landing page for yourself. That landing page, a link to it was also included in your participant guide. The other thing that we've done is we've initiated some social media connections. And so very happy to see that a number of you have already connected with us on the private Facebook page that was set up. And if you haven't yet joined it, there is a link. There will be a link set up in the in the chat box there so that you can click and join the private Facebook page that was set up for this event. On the Facebook page, you're going to see all kinds of things listed. It's for everybody in this space to have a space to connect outside of Zoom. You can share contact information with other members to that space. You'll be able to post stories to that space and participate in some of our social media challenges. So I would encourage all of you to join that page if you're on Facebook. And finally, if some of you joining are avid TikTokers just like me, this next social media challenge will be just for you. We wanted to have a fun and creative way for participants to connect. And so we are initiating 3 TikTok challenges. If you joined our Facebook page, you would have already seen the first one that went out. And that TikTok challenge is to create a video showing us your guardian look. There will be 2 other TikTok challenges that we initiate this week. The second being an encouragement to sign our Land Needs Guardians petition and encouraging your friends and families to do the same. And the third being tell us your guardian without telling us a guardian. You can adapt that to tell us you support guardians without telling us you support guardians. We want to see all your creative variations on our TikTok challenges. And to just inspire you, we're going to take a second now to show you 2. And I'll just ask our tech team to screen those 2 TikToks.
Only takes one bullet. You ain't got that nerve. Try me. And if you don't love me now.
Tell me you're a guardian without telling me you're a guardian. I'll go first.
Thank you. Thank you, tech team. And we know that sometimes when we share video through Zoom, it can be a little bit delayed or laggy. And so I just want to highlight now that if you're experiencing that on your end, we do apologize. We will be putting links to all the videos we share in the chat box as we go through our day, and also posting it to our private Facebook page. So if you experience, maybe a poor video quality or lag that makes the viewing of that video through the Zoom difficult, you will have access to a link where you can stream the video yourself and hopefully get a better experience watching that video. So I hope those TikToks inspired you. We're going to be looking for people participating in the TikTok challenges. And as a thank you for participating, anybody who does participate will be entered into a draw for amazing Land Needs Guardians swag. So to enter into the draw for swag, there is a form. Once you post your TikTok, it's going to be important that you use our hashtags GG2021 and hashtag Land Needs Guardians. That way we'll be able to find your TikTok or your any of your other social media posts. And then once you post, fill out the form to enter the draw. We'll drop a link to the form in the chat box, but again, you'll be able to find those forms on our landing page and on our private Facebook page. So speaking of creativity, I'd like to take a minute now to reintroduce our graphic recorder for our conference or for our gathering online this year, Nijitso Norbert. Good morning, Nijitso.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm, again, just so excited to be here. We're at day 2 and I have my poster ready behind us. So yeah, feeling great.
So for those who missed our virtual live feed yesterday, Nijitso, could you just take 1 minute to just introduce who you are to our participants today?
Yeah, Van Queen Z, Nijitso Norbert Vilshi. Good morning, everyone, from wherever you are. I hope you're comfortable, feeling good. I'm actually here as a graphic recorder for the next couple days to the end of the week. And really what that is a way of visually representing the good work and the good things that you're going to be sharing and the challenges that you'll be sharing over the next couple of days. I'm going to be capturing that and relaying it in a visual way on this poster. So that's kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes.
So awesome. We're so thrilled to have you join us. Tech team, if you would be so kind as to share the image of Nijitso's artwork from yesterday. And Nijitso, I'm going to invite you to walk us through this graphic.
Sure. Yesterday, I didn't have a chance to actually talk about the title and the hide stretched on it. And I thought this morning was a really good time to remind everyone that we are gathering, that this is for together for our future. We're inspiring and educating about the value of Indigenous-led stewardship and guardians programs was the focus of yesterday. And then on the corners of that, you'll see the Land Needs Guardians logos that they use, the flowers. And so from there, we moved into a feeding the fire ceremony. We spoke about and had a remembrance moment for the 215 children. And there was a beautiful quote that I thought captured the spirit of our mourning, which was, "We may not see our ancestors here, but they are standing with us." And I think that's a really special moment for us to remember as we go in today as well. We then went into a sharing circle with guardians. And to the right of that title, you'll see this beautiful photo that I found online of all these amazing guardians that I just had to capture. And then under that, we heard from Shauna, Tanya, Amberly, and William. And so underneath there, you'll see moments of capture. So I tried to focus on the questions that were asked, the vision, what participants were working on, what was upcoming, what were they excited for, and what their day-to-day looked like. So I hope you enjoy, have a look. It's fun to read, and I'm going to be working on another one today. And again, I just also wanted to point out if there's any changes, any additions, corrections, I can absolutely do those. Just let the staff know, and I will make sure to get those fixed for you.
It's so beautiful, Najitso Masi. We'll invite you back at the end of the day so we can see the progress you made on today's graphic work. Masi. So we will share Najitso's graphic work, I believe, on our social media pages and our website. So stay tuned for that. And at this point, I'd like to hand it over to our director, Valerie Couture, to introduce our keynotes.
Thank you, Detty, and welcome again, everybody. It's so great to have you all join. Do tell your guardian friends about this conference. If anybody that you know is having any troubles, just reach out to us. You know, we love having you all here, and we want as many people participating as possible. By the way, we've got over 600 registered for this event, for those who are curious. At this time, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing my friend, sister, colleague, and mentor, the Honorable Ethel Blondin Andrew. Ethel is a Shuta or a mountain Denny from Tulita, Northwest Territories. She's a senior leader and much valued colleague in the Indigenous Leadership Initiative. Early in her formidable career, Ms. Blondin Andrews taught in 3 Northwest Territories communities, in Tuktoyaktuk, Delaney, and Fort Providence, eventually specializing in Indigenous language curriculum development in Yellowknife. From 84 to 86, Ms. Blondin Andrew worked with the Public Service Commission of Canada as a national manager for Indigenous development programs. In 1986 to 88, Ms. Blondin Andrew was Assistant Deputy Minister of Culture within the Government of Northwest Territories. And in 1988, she was the first Indigenous woman elected to Parliament, serving for 17 years as a member of Parliament, 13 of which were in cabinet. As the first Indigenous woman to be a member of the Privy Council and cabinet, she served as Secretary of State Training and Youth from 93 to 97, as Secretary of State for Children and Youth from 97 to 2003, and as Minister of State for Northern Development from 2003 to 2004. Notably, she gave her first House of Commons speech in the Denny language and supplied her own interpreter. In 2001, she was awarded an honorary doctorate from Brock University. And in 2019, I had the pleasure of witnessing Ms. Blondin Andrew receiving Maclean's Lifetime Achievement Award for former members of Parliament. She also chaired the Satu Secretariat Incorporated, a land claims organization, for 9 years. Throughout her career, she's raised awareness and advocated for Indigenous peoples, children, and persons with disability and inclusion of Indigenous communities in the development of national, regional, and local labor market programs. I can tell you all, she's on every committee you could think of. She's still very, very busy these days. She's married to the wonderful Leon Andrew and has four children and 4 grandchildren. Ethel, over to you. Oh, you'll just have to unmute yourself, Ethel, please.
Oh, sorry. Masi Val, Masi John Naiheno Balachoriwita. I said thank you, and I'm sitting here in the big tent with you. And I want to say to everyone, Undagoga Nazon Kiorati. It says the future looks good. With the backdrop of what we're experiencing these past days and for generations, I want to give you hope. These young people, I said that the future looks good. Undagoa means the future. These are the words of an elder, Daniel Sonfrere from Catlo de Che. He was a very famous elder for the Dene, and he always said at the beginning or at the end of meetings that the future looks good. It looks good ahead. It's like checking the road with you to give you a good warm feeling in your heart. Masi Cho to Decho, Fort Simpson, for the feeding of the fire performed yesterday at the opening. of ILI, I would like to welcome guardians, Indigenous leaders, and our allies from across the world. If we have our cousins, the Americans and Australians with us, that's wonderful. Out of respect for Indigenous people across Canada and the world, I feel to address up front the news out of BC this week. Thank you to Mr. friend Bev Sellers, whom I adore, for your powerful words yesterday. I would like to say that months ago, I rediscovered Dunn. And for those of you who love music, reach out to this man. He is here, it is still with us. Willie Dunn did a song called I Pity the Country. I don't know why, but sometimes the Creator gives me gifts. I've been listening to that. I heard a CBC, I heard Willie Dunn sing the song I Pity the Country. If you need a moment of action, listen to that. It's very special. The exposure of the burial of those 215 children at Kamloops Indian Reservoir, my heart has been so heavy. I'm a residential school survivor, and I've been coast to coast to coast by both survivors and intergenerational survivors of the horrors of the residential school system. It's unfathomable. I need to acknowledge this news story because it has affected me and so many, not because it is new information. We know these exist and that there will be many more discovered, but because being faced by the reminders that we walk with this difficult knowledge is indescribably. On the Indigenous Advisory Committee for the UBC Residential School and Dialogue Center with 14 other Indigenous leaders, including Mary L. and Stephen Point, Cliff At, so many more that are on there. We're working to make sure these atrocities are forgotten, but we are also working to a better future for all of our people. Thinking of those children, their families, and all of us with love, resolve to make healthy, beautiful futures for our children and get despite what was done to us. My work with ILI is part of the antidote that will show the world that Indigenous people should play a major role with respect to conservation. We are the stewards of the remaining biodiverse planet. While the world's 370 million Indigenous people make up 5% of the total human population, we manage our over 25% of the world's land surface. A huge part of who I am and what I do as a Shutotina, to a place where we are fully engaged in a process called Indigenous Nation. This is no surprise to me. It is who we are. When young people, as I saw them yesterday, and will also see them into the future, I know we are where we are at our best, and we are where 80% of the biodiversity on the planet remains stewardship of our peoples, such as we are the foundation of healthy futures on Earth. This is our ancestral gift, our power and our legacy. Think about being an ILI, it is a gift. When I think about being on the advisory residential school, the Creator put me there. When I think about being amongst and listening to those young people who are resilient beyond words, I'm gifted. I know that I've been given those gifts by the Creator. It is not me, it's do necessarily, but it's being given that opportunity. If you sense a gift from, grab onto it, hold on to it. It's a good thing and work it. I want you to know that let us learn from and support each other as we work together to continue to care and protect our lands, our communities. I can't wait to hear from all of you. The Growth Guardians movement is great cause for celebration. There are now more guardians across the country than at any point in history. The programs have tripled in the years, and there are now approximately 95 programs in existence. Guardians and you are all answering that call. Proud to be part of this movement. Let me tell you a bit more about how I got here. Before I went to residential school, my people gave me what I needed to survive on the land. My parents raised me on the land. We traveled by dog team, by boat, or on foot. Denny do. I acquired a taste for country food at an early age. My parents respect the land, animals, and the people. My grandmother, gave me the gift of my Denny language and ceremony, especially to pay the as we take from it. Always show gratitude. Wherever we are, it is the land, the animals. We look to Mother Earth. That's who we are. While there is incredible diversity between Indigenous peoples, nations, and languages, we share a powerful quality. We understand our fundamental dependence upon the land, and we continue with this in mind. This brings me to the joy and inspiration and career. I feel incredibly grateful for my involvement and my work with. I've just turned 70, and it is indeed a huge gift from the Creator. The Indigenous Leadership Initiative is dedicated to advancing the role of Indigenous nations in deciding the future of traditional territories. We are an Indigenous-led organization. Our senior leaders have decades of experience in Indigenous leadership and governance, in territorial and provincial government, parliament, and federal cabinet, and in national commissions and international arena. Please know that our people are gifted and are outstanding in their leadership. We draw on this expertise to foster nationhood. We take a holistic view of nationhood and believe healthy lands support healthy families and healthy communities. Together they form nations. We also see linkages between strong nations and more sustainable society for all people. We advance Indigenous protected conserved areas, Indigenous guardians, for instance, because they foster and are an expression. They also help solve existential threats like climate change and diversity, and they help prepare a path forward for reconciliation, nation relationship, and a better foundation for Canada. The IL partner of the International Boreal Conservation Campaign, a coalition of organizations who are all dedicated to supporting conservation and stewardship and conserving the boreal region according to the wishes of the people who call it home. I must tell you, when I see Indigenous people collective on the land, I feel the healing. I feel the goodness of the world, what there is in this world. And I feel it come from within our people. We have the power, and we will see that. Currently, I'm working with self-government in Sahtu. This is another thing I'm working to center Indigenous governance, self-determination, and nationhood for my people. To my last breath, it will be the work for my people, for you young people, for generations to come, that will count for me. Currently, I'm nationhood is not easy. Responsibility is not meant to be easy. The hard work of coming together to do according to Denny value and laws is worthy of that effort. My fellow Déti are passionate about the land and our relationship with it. We are also in our Indigenous foods. We just gotta have caribou right there. We just gotta have caribou and moose. These are our supermarkets, our bread baskets. This means more than a picture to me. It's there every day that I wake up, I see this. I see that and I see the raven. Move forward by incorporating time-honored traditions and practices of our people communities while being able to participate fully in Canada's economic and social growth. Guardians help communities honor these responsibilities. They draw on Indigenous tradition, and they conduct research, inform policies, strengthening governance and nationhood in the process. We need guardians on the land now more than ever. IPCAs and guardians are the single most important strategy to address biodiversity loss in the last 10 years. 85 to 90% of the new protected areas in Canada have been led or co-led by Indigenous nations. From Mealy Mountains National Park Reserve to Tuyata, Gotahope in the Northwest Territories. I know that North America's boreal forests, which spans the northern portion of the continent, from Alaska all the way to Newfoundland, covers an astonishing 1.5 billion acres, larger than all but 6 countries, including India. Canada is home to 85% of North America's boreal forest. Clean water need. Climate change threatens all of us. Animals and plants are disappearing. Fresh becoming contaminated. Indigenous people are stepping up to the challenge. We have expertise, knowledge systems, and proven models. We have guardians. We are like the raven. We are the sentinels of the earth. We renew the land, and we like also to laugh while we do it. And we see like the ravens, we watch. Ultimately, we know what has to be done. Passion. I get to work with so many good people. That's my passion. Young people. Since I've started with ILI, I've done 4 major camps. Has been Chutout in the elder Leon Andrew. We're very proud of our work and our reporting on the land activities. These camps were rich cultural experiences and were really rewarding. Most of all, healing. In all of this, in all this, where we are where we should be as humans. Loving, accepting ourselves and others. The most important in healing is learning to love yourself. Many of residential cause great grief, intergenerational trauma, because it taught that you are not worthy of love. You are worthy of love. Your child, a tool that you nurture and love, is the most powerful person in the world when they go out there on their land with their people and they know who they are. They're powerful and they carry forward our message. This when we went out onto the land, we went to Neriton at 40 below and stayed 8. Kate to Willow Flats, where we learned about governance. Petana, third one, where we harvested caribou. Teteke was the last one. This was a special experience for all 25 of us in the camp. When we felt that our young people, and we felt the positivity and the hope for the future, we healed too. Through each successive camp, we could see the transformation of the young learned. We learned what the young people learned and needed to learn, and confident to tell us what they needed. There was a growing realization that these opportunities for leaderships and excellence as guardians on the land give mentorship and guidance and resources. These are the things that led to the leadership as guardians of the land. They are the front lines in the North and in Canada, addressing change, food sovereignty and security, and participating in diverse local economies, support local governance of lands and resources. I want my grandchildren to how significant a role that the land plays in keeping the air clean, in keeping the and providing food for us as a global population. There are so many things I worry too, because I know that the world is a different place and we have greater challenges. We're trying to square the circle on our economic aspirations, on our technological aspirations, on trying to do all the things that are right to do with conservation. I want the gift of walking in the bush and seeing what I saw as a child. I would to have the gift of my language and my grandmother gave me. Those are the things that work together that make us who we are. All of us. It doesn't matter who we are. Whether we're Indigenous or not, we all need each other. We all need the same things. We need a good environment. We need to pull together. These people that I went with out on the land, these kids get it. They really get it. They know that this is the place where they are the best human beings they can be. That's what I want for all of you, what I want for all of us and our grandchildren. Masicho.
Ethel, that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing those words. I know you can't see me, but I'm wondering, I know that you shared a few photos with us and we haven't had a chance to see those photos. Did you want to take a moment and speak to those? So tech team, please, there you go.
Okay, this is my grandmother. Her name was Christine Betzachu, and that is my birth mother, Cecilia. And my grandmother worked as a seamstress in school. And when my mother was that age, she committed suicide. We knowledge of what happened, of what transpired, mystery, and it is a huge, huge pain and burden for my family. We have that to deal with, along with our residential school experience. This is my mother. That's my birth mother, Cecilia Taddy Betzachu. Or Taddy. She and those are two older sisters. Her two older sisters, Marie Trace on the left and Rose, were left. My mother was left in the care, and that's in residential school. I just want you to note how they're dressed. The only Aboriginal has on a moccasins. Those are probably left by my grandma when she died, but they all were left in the care of the residential school. And it's funny how dressed in black, and they're all dressed like people that look after them, and not the people they came from. My family has a long history of residential school. That was residential school. And look at us, look at the smiles. What happened to them, no matter what people did to them, they're resilient. Next picture, please. This is the way they came. This is when they landed. Rose Norwegian, married someone from, so she's called Norwegian. Then the second on the right, the tall one with the dark hat, is my mother, Marie Trace. And then Rose, those were the former ones you saw. Then there's the famous two warriors, Macaulay in the little white hat in the front row. Then if you skip along, you see a little boy towards the end with a hat and short on the left side in the front row. That is the famous author Blondin, my cousin. He is the mother to Fiona Blondin. He is the mother to Ted Blondin. These people are resilient. My cousin is the one that walked, this young man is the one that, these are all the people, these are the young people that were sent with the best clothes that their parents could find to residence. You saw the picture of how they were dressed. These were taken away from them, that the clothes that their parents brought together and gave them, all in their own style, beautiful little hats. How they got a hold of these, I don't know. They worked at it and dressed their kids nicely, sent them off, and then they were put into. So my family has a long and hard history with residential. I entered residential school at 9, and I have never been able to reconcile. I'm a runaway from residential school. I convinced my parents that I couldn't survive, and so they took me out, and my parents took us out on the last year into a bush. We lived in a tent, and those were the happiest days of my young life. Here's the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line. I don't want to make you sad, so I want to say something to you. Be strong like your ancestors. Be happy, like no matter what happened to them, they found the happiness from within and from each other. Love, hold each other up, and work together and heal together. Masicho. Thanks, Val.
Chinishkabit now, Masi Cho, Ethel, for those wonderful words. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, experiences, and hope and wishes for everyone and the future of this country. So thank you for doing that. At this time, I'd like to introduce a new friend and an amazing woman that I've just been a huge fan of for a number of years. Deputy Grand Chief Mandy Gull, Deputy Grand Chief of the Cree Nation government. First elected to public office in 2014, she served as Deputy Chief of her home community. I don't know why my video's off, but okay. Deputy Grand Chief of her home community of Waswanipi. She held the finance, there I am. She held the finance administration. It's just weird to introduce you, Mandy, without actually having an interaction. Sorry about that. She held the finance, administration, housing, and mining negotiation portfolios for her nation. She also held a seat on the executive committee that led files that included the mandates and the implementation of financial management and strategic planning for Waswanipi. As a negotiator holding the mining portfolio, she was heavily involved in ensuring strong relationships with and an understanding of the mining industry and the companies operating within Iwis Chi, the Cree territory. Taking on the mandate to develop the economic role of mining for the benefit of our community. She was key in engaging in partnerships and developing Waswanipi as a key player within the mining industry. Some of you may be familiar with there is heavy mining in around Waswanipi and Nemeska areas that Mandy was involved in. Her success included the creation of a successful community-owned joint ventures in camp and janitorial services, drilling and exploration, and construction. She was instrumental in establishing Waswanipi as a key player within its traditional territory, and ensuring that mining exploration would be carried out, aligned with the community's concern and environmental protection. Mandy has also represented the community in its effort to protect the last intact forest within the Cree territory, where there is forestry. This includes developing partnerships with various non-governmental organizations and presenting the community's position at various venues that showcase the importance of protected areas for the Cree community. She had the unique opportunity to present the community's position at the Sustainable Fashion Summit in New York City and also the Skull Foundation at Oxford University in England. She's also served as representative of her community on the Cree Nation Government's Council. She's successfully pursued an educational path that includes a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and another in public affairs and public studies and policy studies, from Concordia's School of Community and Public Affairs. She has over 12 years of experience in administration and management working for various Cree entities and organizations at both the local and regional level. She's also ventured out as an entrepreneur and a number of years operated the first female Cree-owned management consulting firm, Kapatakun Consulting, which provided services. I said that with my Innu accent, so you can correct me, Mandy. Which provided support and services to clients throughout AUSG. Mandy has always been an active community member. From an early age, she's taken on responsibilities on numerous boards and councils, such as Vice President of her Student Council, President of the Cree Nation School Board, Montreal Students Association, Board Member of the Awash Daycare, Waswanipi's local President of the Cree Women of AUSG Association, and a board member and corporate secretary of the Mishtuk Corporation. As Deputy Grand Chief of the Cree Nation and Vice Chairperson, she's pleased to serve EUSG in the mandates that includes chairmanship of the EUSG Land Use Planning Commission, justice and committee members, and leading the Cree Quebec Table in Environment and Protected Areas. She's a member of the Cree Nation's Government's Executive Committee, board member of EUSG James Bay Regional Government. For those who want to know more about that, check out the latest governance agreement that the Cree have come to with the government of Quebec and the government of Canada. And she's also an honorary member of the Cree Women of the EUSG's Association. Whew. Mandy, over to you to tell us a little bit more about the Cree Nation and its ambitions for its lands and territories and its Cree Land Keepers program. Over to you.
Valerie. Nishtam Gangino Yemen, Moswasne, Dino Yemen, Jajino Ktan, SKA, Yan Yemonan, Jiwajim Nom Swat, Kumno, Gabaj Wishamia, Jibajai Mutman, Gapshishin, Iushit Otten Houndjis, Swanib Nom Swajoga, Gab Chikt Mek to Jimugni, take not guesti. I always have an opening where I speak in my language to honor the fact that we are still speaking fluent Cree in our territory. Majority of our nation speaks Cree fluently. It's a pleasure to be here. I also extended my thank you for inviting me to speak about EUSG and also say hello to everybody working in the protection and conservation of Aboriginal territories across Canada. I would first of all like to say thank you to Ethel, Blond, and Andrew. I really appreciated the words that she shared today, the sentiments, the empowering and uplifting words that she shared with everybody participating in this afternoon's sessions. She has really blazed the trail. I was extremely impressed. I haven't had the opportunity to hear her full background, so it was actually more impressive to hear the full story of where she's come from and the work that she's done. So Ethel, I think that was really beautiful work. And I appreciate the words that you shared today. This afternoon, I'm here to share a story about my nation. I come from USG. We are the James Bay Cree of Northern Quebec. We are 10 communities. We're about 20,000 members. We have another community that's also in the process of being created. And we also recognize another nation that's living just across the border in Ontario. The Mo Quebec are also part of our nation. And we are a young nation, but I think that we are a nation that has a very unique story. And I'm really pleased to be sitting right now as the elected official, the Deputy Grand Chief of this USG nation. I've had the opportunity to work on a number of files. I've always kind of worked in the political domain, mostly behind the scenes as an administrator, but I was recently elected. I think this is my 7th or 8th year as an elected official. I sat locally, and then I became regionally elected to represent all 10 communities. I'm coming towards the end of my term. It has been an absolute joy and pleasure. I'm so pleased to serve our nation. It's been something that has been a learning experience for me, and I think has really been of benefit. I will give a full disclaimer. I have a dog, so if he barks, my apologies, but I can't really shush him. He's quite older. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the work that we've been doing in our territory. We call our territory USG. It's literally Cree land translated into English. We have recently in December had the fortunate experience to work in partnership with the Quebec government in announcing that we have set aside 20% of our territory for protection. I'm really pleased to have had this announcement made as part of my term. It's been a long, long path for us. There's been a lot of work that's been undertaken. I am extremely proud of the team that has been in place. We have a protected areas coordination unit. They've undertaken this work. They've worked really closely with our land users. We call them tallyman. Our traditional territories are divided into community categories of land. Each community has traditional trap lines that have been passed down and are bound by the USG hunting law. And those traditional trap lines are managed by stewards of the land that we call tallyman or nduhu iuch. And their work is to ensure that they're managing not only the trapline itself, but the wildlife habitats. They're part of the process when industrial activities are undertaken, they're consulted. They have a really big task. There's a lot of responsibilities when being a tallyman, but really understanding your territory is important, and understanding the wildlife and habitat that's within that territory is a significant role. Over the past 10 years, we've undertaken a lot of work with our local tallyman, with our communities, with many organizations throughout USG to really identify key areas that were pristine areas, that were areas that contained a lot of very, very highly significant culturally bound areas that we wanted to set aside for complete protection, the highest level, the highest degree of protection. And this was something that we were able to successfully obtain. Our work is not done. I'm going to show a map. I just wanted to ask the tech team if they could put that map up. We were able to obtain a number of areas of protection set aside for the Cree territory. The green areas were areas that had already been set aside for protection. And through a number of years of negotiation, we were also able to include the red areas to be identified as new areas of protection. So this is 20% of our territory that has been set aside. We're now moving on to an additional role of including another layer of 30% of protection in USG. We're working on what that definition will be. And we're looking at trying to ensure that we have a common definition with the Quebec government. And that definition will really focus on non-industrialized sustainable development. It's a bit of a mouthful. We're trying to identify what that means for us. My nation has also undertaken recently the initiative to identify the future of what what types of industrial development will be undertaken in the Cree territory. So we have a lot of tasks on our plate. We're bound by the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, and we were able to really develop a close working relationship with the provincial government. And that's given us a lot of opportunities to create various types of tables and working directly with the Quebec government. But for us, I think for me, one of the most important files is the protected areas table. And we kind of had to respond to development in our territory. And a number of years ago, the Quebec government announced that they were looking to increase the development within the northern portion of Quebec, which was our territory. And for us, we had to respond with ensuring that conservation and protection of our territory was at the forefront of what was going to happen in our areas. We do this because we wanted to ensure that our treaty rights were protected. We do have a population that still continue to hunt, fish, and trap. We have people that live on the land full time. We are still consuming and hunting wild game, fish, various types of food groups, but we do live off of the land. I'm very proud to say that I'm married to a hunter, and that I would say 95% of our diet is traditional meat. So I'm very privileged to have that opportunity. And there are many other community members that observe that kind of lifestyle also. And I'm very pleased to showcase that the Cree have a very close connection with their territory and have a very in-depth knowledge base of what types of habitats and what types of biodiversity occur within those trapline systems from the north to south. So a couple of years ago, as I mentioned, the Quebec government had announced that they wanted to undertake a development plan. In response, the Cree were able to request that they wanted to ensure that they participated in the process of setting aside 20% of protection by 2020. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the targets that were set aside. In addition, we also had the commitment, as I mentioned before, an additional 30% of protection designated outside and surrounding the protected areas that have been set aside. We undertook this process over a number of years. We worked with each community at the local level. We were able to work directly with the chief and council, with the tallymans, with land users and elders. We were able to identify various types of criteria that we wanted to ensure we captured. We did a lot of technical planning. We had a lot of advisory support, and we looked at different scales and in all of the communities and all of the trap lines. We did not take a blanket approach. We really tried to target and identify areas that were of specific importance to each community, but also captured different types of biodiversity targets that had been set, not only for us as Crees, but also with our partners, the Quebec government. So I'm really pleased with my staff's work, because essentially what they did was they created an extremely unique model. They identified various cultural maps where they sat with different communities and land users and looked at areas of importance like historical areas, portage areas, former campsites, areas that had significant activity for harvesting, wildlife habitats, different types of biodiversity. And really our focus was looking at water, different types of water sources and watersheds and how they flowed throughout the territory. My nation does have a territory that has been significantly impacted by different types of development. In the northern part, there's a lot of hydroelectric development. In the southern part, there's a lot of forestry development. And this is years and years of development going back to the early 1970s and even before. In addition, as you heard Valerie say, we are a province that is very mining friendly. We have a lot of activity, exploration activity. So it has been a challenge for us to kind of try to ensure the protection of our territory while working with the different types of impact that have been created. And I think it was a really big challenge for our team, because not only did they have to identify these historical sites, these cultural sites, measure and mitigate the impact on the territory, but they had to capture like a significant amount of data, looking at the human footprint, the industrial footprint, looking at all of the watersheds, the water sources, different types of traditional portages and areas in which the Crees had undertake an expedition and where they had camps, but they also had to take into consideration a lot of the scientific data that our partners were looking at, and looking at different impacts on the landscape and how that would look into the future. So looking at things like wetlands, climate, the natural geology, elevation, the potential of forest fires. And in partnership with one of our NGOs, we were able to take all of this information, the cultural information and the scientific information, and enter it into a computer system that generated various types of scenarios that each community was able to look at, a number of scenarios, and was able to really identify which scenario they felt best reflected their needs as a community. So it was extremely challenging. There were some communities that had, up to 12 different scenarios. And of course, there was always, different needs at the local level amongst the Taliban. I think one of the biggest challenges in doing this job is sitting with the Taliban and saying, we're identifying areas to protect on your trap line. What would you like to highlight? And they would circle the whole entire map. And as much as I wanted to, follow through and pursue that complete circle of their trap line, our partnership with the Quebec government really required for us to highlight key core areas. And I think that was something that was really, really, really challenging for me as a leader, to also have an environmental background and to be placed in a role where you kind of have to work within the requested boundaries of the relationship was a big learning experience for me. But I do believe that this first step, this 20%, is one of the tools in our toolbox. It is the highest degree of protection, but we do have other types of protection that we intend to identify and enact in the territory, even beyond the additional 30% that we're working on. I've seen the work of IPCAs across Canada, internationally. I'm absolutely amazed by that work. And I think it's really important for us to learn from other nations that have undertaken this work. My nation is early on, I think, in the process of trying to define and determine what these protected areas will mean for our nation. And I think there's a lot of learning for us to do. So I'm really pleased to see and learn what other Guardians programs are doing across Canada, and to learn about other nations that have these protected areas set aside for them. In addition, for us, one of the targets that we're working on is trying to ensure that we're protecting our traditional caribou habitat. Our territory is extremely large. I just want to, put it into context for you guys that the territory that we've set aside for protection is over 300,000 square kilometers. It's, we refer to it as the size of a medium European country. It is a very large territory. Of course, there's always room to improve on that. There's always room to protect more. We have a number of wildlife habitats that we want to protect, but for us, most significantly, we've been working very diligently on trying to identify a plan for the boreal caribou, the woodland caribou. It is a file of the utmost importance. I feel that there is movement on this file. I think it's been a challenge for a number of provinces across Canada to really try to have a plan that's going to be of benefit for the boreal caribou across the boreal forest in Canada. As I mentioned, for the Cree Nation, the Io way of life, Iowitun, the Cree way of life, there's a very close tie to Cree heritage. There's a very close tie. We still continue to hunt, fish, and trap. It is one of our rights that's protected in our territory. We still engage in our traditional hunting periods. We let our schools out. Everybody goes on goose break. Everybody goes on a moose break in the fall. I think it's really been an important part of that cultural knowledge transfer. And I think that it's really important to highlight that, our schools are schools that teach Cree culture within the programming. It's uniquely tailored to us. We are a young school board. We are a young nation. We're always looking to improve the programs and services we offer, but I'm really pleased to highlight the work that we've started to do. And for us, I think that the protected areas is going to be another place where we're able to have that transfer of cultural values. We're able to invite other nations and other people to come and see what EUSG looks like and host really great programming, cultural programming. You know, I'm hoping to see ecotourism for people to come and see our territory, to see how the Cree interact with their territory, with wildlife, and really have a beautiful space to showcase what EUSG means. I've been privileged to travel throughout the territory and see different landscapes. I'm an inland Cree. I married a coastal Cree, so to see everything from the southern part to the northern part of EUSG has really been a blessing for me. And I think it's something that I'm very pleased to capture and highlight in our protected areas. I would not be able to work with my team and lead this file without the immense work that they've contributed to it. I just have to highlight that in undertaking this project, we were a team of women. I'm very proud of that we had a strong core team of women that were able to bring this project together. We were able to go out and seek funding. We were one of the projects that were recognized by the Challenge Fund. Through that, we were able to bring funding dollars together where we are starting to and going to continue funding projects like youth healing journeys where they're paddling across major watersheds in the territory, youth healing journeys where they're walking across traditional landscapes. We're also able to undertake a huge study on ecotourism and what that will mean for the Cree territory. We're undertaking projects like looking at wildlife studies, doing baseline studies for wildlife habitats, for different types of animal species, and most importantly, looking at the water sources within EUSG. I think that's been one of the most important sources of information for us, is really identifying these water sources and how they flow and in what condition they are in and what kind of potential impact could be of damage to them. So I'm pleased that our team has undertaken a lot of work. They have really, I believe, achieved something extremely unique to have basically a model that takes Aboriginal knowledge, Aboriginal and cultural knowledge, and melds it with scientific knowledge and creates these pristine areas set aside for our communities is of the greatest importance. Not only have they gone out and sought these funding dollars, they've also created a landskeeper program where it's very similar to Guardians. It has a different name, but this is some of the next work that we're undertaking, is really identifying how we're going to have Cree youth, Cree EU in place, and how they're going to carry out these projects and these programs in these areas set aside for them. We've done a lot of work. I think we've scratched the surface. We have a lot more to do, and we wouldn't have been able to do this work without the partnerships that we had in place, a lot of government partnerships, a lot of NGOs, a lot of support from various groups. ILI also was one of those key groups that was able to support us. And looking forward, I think the thing that's most important is, if I can offer a little bit of advice to those that are undertaking this work, I think that there has to be an extremely clear link between the landskeepers and, for us, our protected areas in EUSG. And I'm pleased to learn that there are many people undertaking this work. I think for us, one of the most important things is that lessons learned process, where we're learning how you've succeeded and the challenges that you've faced. It helps us in our process as well. And I think that, in terms of those people that are out there that are representing the government or that are representing funding, to really ensure that you're building on those funding dollars that are put out there for the establishment of protected areas, but to also invest in securing funding so that protected areas management can be identified, to create these sources of employment and to ensure that those funding dollars come from mixed sources, that those funding dollars are there to secure this employment. I truly believe that Indigenous people are the best keepers of protected areas and all spaces in Canada, throughout Canada. And I think that, for us to have this opportunity to work with other nations in Canada and learn from you, we're always willing to share that information as well and highlight to you what kind of experiences we've had in negotiating with our government and the work that we've undertaken and the challenges that we've faced. It has been a learning experience. I'm very privileged to be able to carry this kind of knowledge. And I have to also say in closing, one of the things that I really believe is important is to ensure that if you are in partnership with an NGO, that you recognize them for the work that they've done. We've had some incredible supporters. ILI is one of them, NCC. We've had a number of foundations that work with us, that fund us. We would not be able to do this work without them. And, really challenge yourselves, be unique in your approach, and be able to take on these difficult things to really create something beautiful for your nation, because I am extremely pleased that we've had the benefit of doing that for USG. So I'm excited to learn from whoever's here, and I hope that the story that I've been able to share inspires you to undertake your work, or also inspires you to reach out and share with USG the things that you've learned in your journey. And I want to wish best of luck to everybody who's undertaking a role in protection of USG in your territory and beyond.
Wow, Chinishkabit now, Mandy, thank you so much for your words. Those of you who are following on Facebook, check out the chat. There's lots of links to the Cree Nation government's website, EUSG conservation strategy, all of the resources that Mandy mentioned in her talk. So we really, really appreciate you taking time out of, I know your very busy schedule, Mandy, to be here amongst us this morning or this afternoon for you. And we hope that we will have more chances to learn from the experience of the Cree Nation. And again, folks on the line, check out the Cree Nation's governance agreements. The Cree Nation's experience in defending their rights and titles is something to know and be inspired by. And all of those resources are online, so check that out. Great. At this time, I would like to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Chelsea. And Chelsea joined the ILI just over a year ago and has been killing it on social media and doing these amazing story projects with Guardians from right across the country. And Chelsea, I think some of those Guardians are going to join us today and maybe showing a little bit of their work. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Ekasane. Yes, so my name is Chelsea Pareko. As Val said, I am the community and social media coordinator for ILI and the Land Needs Guardians program. I just want to first start off by acknowledging the territory that I'm on. I'm in Bouting, which is the traditional territory of Batchewana Bay First Nation, Garden River First Nation, and the Métis Nation. I'm a guest in these lands. My traditional territory and the community that I belong to is Missinabee Cree First Nation. And I have the great pleasure, as Val said, of working with these amazing, amazing Guardians from coast to coast. So currently I work alongside with the Community Storytellers program. So I support storytellers within their communities to share the great work that they're a part of in their community. And we do so and enable those storytellers to do so in a way that allows them to, first of all, adhere to a storyteller lens. So honoring our original ways of knowing and being and sharing original information. But then it's incredibly important that the storytellers are located in the territory, because it's their story, it's their information, it's their knowledge, their original ways of being that needs to be shared with the rest of the world, or can be shared with the rest of the world. So it's a great privilege of mine to work with these amazing individuals. So currently we have 7 people that are a part of our cohort and are onboarding 3 more nations. So we actually work coast to coast, and then with those up in the Northwest Territories and in the Yukon. So it's an incredible program. I'm so proud of all of these people. And you know, when Ethel was speaking, the first thing that came to my mind after she had said, I feel the best when I see Indigenous people on the land, I feel goodness. I feel the best and feel goodness when I'm watching these individuals share their stories and share the great work that's happening across the nation. And I think in times like today, in times like after an announcement that you know, that we all knew, but is something that is still really difficult to understand and hear, these 215 babies. I think that the thing that I take comfort in, the thing that makes me feel the best, and the thing that I'm so incredibly proud of is these guardians and the amazing things that they're sharing, the amazing work that they do, the boots on the ground, essentially. You know, that for me is why I'm here and how I continue to walk in a good way. And you'll see these guardians are incredible. I often say I'm so proud to be and privileged to be a part of this cohort, because these are some of the most amazing people. And Amber Lee and Shauna, who presented yesterday, are also a part of this cohort. So you know, I'm among some of the most brilliant minds in the world. So it's such a great privilege. Originally, so our storyteller program, originally how I got involved was I was a storyteller. And I remember being approached and asked to do this and thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm not a creative human at all. I have no idea what, you know, how to even, I've never held a camera before, like, okay, my cell phone, but I mean, everybody's got a cell phone. I don't know what it's like to touch a professional camera, to then edit a video and turn it into this amazing story. And so I was incredibly nervous to join and to be a part of it. And then the team, like, you know, so there's a few people that's involved with the storyteller program. The team just supports you throughout the whole way and creates a space where you are confident enough to capture the things, pull it all together, turn it into a story, and turn it into this incredible film that you can be so incredibly proud of, and you know, can share with the rest of the world. My particular video is around my sister, who I think is the coolest human in the whole world. And for me, one of the most important things was, my sister, you know, is this incredible knowledge keeper who knows so much about traditional medicines. But for her, watching it back really solidified for her that she's an incredible human, that she has this incredible legacy that she's upholding by sharing. And she's able to then, you know, share with the rest of the world this beautiful relationship that she's creating with all our relations and with our babies and our future generations. And this is exactly what happens with the rest of our storytellers. They're all sharing this incredible information and showcasing just how amazing they are, how much knowledge they carry, and how much knowledge is thriving throughout their communities. So with that, I'll ask that my panelists join me. Hey, y'all, we should have one more person. There you are. Okay. Welcome. So I'd like to introduce, we have 4 of my wonderful crew with us today, our wonderful crew. We have Cody Anderson, who is located in the province of Manitoba. We have Gatuas Brown, who's located in the province known as BC. Lisa, also in the province known as BC, and Robbie in Ross River. So I am first going to let Cody introduce himself, and then we'll go through each of my lovely panelists here, and then they'll have time to introduce themselves and show video.
Hello, my name is Cody Anderson. I'm from Nisqually Cree Nation. I've been working with my community's land management and conservation efforts for the past 6 years. I mainly do the mapping, data management, and yeah, those kinds of things. Not very much field work, but I really am committed to seeing my community thrive and culturally and economically, responsibility and everything like that. So so I would like to see my son, be able to fish in the future and be able to go out and connect with the land. So I'm always working on that campaign for him and for others in my community.
Miigwech. So do you want to introduce your video really quickly, Cody, please?
The video is last year there was a training session for land guardians to do soil sampling, water sampling, and recording that information. They also did, what else did they do? I think that's all I can remember because it was already a few months ago. So I got a call to record that session. It was 2 weeks long, and so I had a lot of fun doing it. So I carry the backpack that was sent to me, and what I was told was just to have fun with it, right? So I went to town. I had the camera on the tripod, and I would crane lift the tripod over the group doing the training, and really just I really did have fun with it. I recorded everything. I was assured that there was no amount of footage that was too much, so I had a good time doing that.
Awesome. So if you could please show Cody's video.
Indigenous Guardians receive training on how to monitor the health of lands and waters. The data they collect helps their First Nations respond to impacts on their territories.
My name is Jose Landaverde. As an environmental scientist, I go out and actually sample and monitor groundwater. I'm here to actually deliver these technical skills so that these First Nations can go out and do their own monitoring and sampling.
I thought it was a good opportunity, doing some more hands-on work with the sampling that we're doing. It's like soil sampling, water sampling.
Recording where we are and time and weather and what are we looking for in those soil samples.
I am going to take all the training I've learned and I'm going to try and teach it to our guardians at home.
First Nations, they already understand their land, but now they need to further realize what's in their groundwater, whether it's safe to plant, whether it's safe to drink. It's super important and it should be ongoing.
They're looking at some mining projects like around our community. What we need to do is get out there and start measuring. When these projects kick up, if there's any contamination, we could say this was not the way it was before. To try and hold them to account, to minimize those effects so it's not affecting us, it's not affecting the different wildlife or the medicines.
Without the ability to monitor and sample your own groundwaters, you're leaving it to different companies to tell you what's in it, and you may not have any basis or understanding of what's there. It just gives the First Nations people a little bit more control and understanding of what to expect on their lands.
If we take care of the land takes care of us.
So good. So the one thing, Cody, that Miigwech for sharing, that I thought about when you were filming that was there's so many components, so many people, so many different locations that you were that you were filming in, and also, like you said, like craning up the different, you know, your camera to catch the different shots that you were able to do. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you and how, you know, how you managed all of that?
I think like, you know, you don't want to be invasive. Obviously, you don't want to, you know, get in the way of the training. So yeah, it's in the back of your mind all the time not to interfere, to interrupt anybody, and I did okay with that. And really, beyond that, there wasn't too much to manage because I had my confidence in the videographer's work, the one doing the video editing. So I just I pointed the camera and without even, you know, being too concerned if the video I was capturing was going to be too messy to work with, and those are the kinds of thoughts you have. But again, the videographer did such an awesome job. If that's the right job title for him.
You also did an amazing job. Like the stuff you were able to capture is so beautiful, and that last message that you were able to capture, I think, is such a critical and important thing to capture. So Gichi Miigwech for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we will hear from Gatuas. Gatuas, I'll let you introduce yourself and then also your film.
Gaisicha Cody, Gatuas Clinugua, Hilstoch Nugua, Gachla Latas Estate, Dugoquait, Dulidina, Dunuhui, Nuchanof, Uklanugua, Waglesla, Dunuhui Gumshwa Gala, Bella Bella. My name is Gatuas and I'm Hilstoch and Nuchanof from Bella Bella and Housit. I live in Bella Bella and my film is about the Hilstoch Nation and our Hilstoch Guardians, and conversations that we've had as a cohort of storytellers is that what I see in my territory and I see following these other storytellers is that we have a lot of guardians in a lot of different capacities within our communities. And this opportunity is just to showcase some of the formal guardianship that we're doing as Indigenous people. So my film was on the invasive green crab species that has come to Hilstoch territory, just like the invasion of Canada, the invasion of what we now call Canada, and how you see that's ongoing. It's in all of our territories. So it's just a way to shed some light onto that ongoing encroachment, that ongoing colonization, whether it's in our waterways, on our land, or in our spirits. So my film was on out in our territory, looking at what the Guardians were doing that day. They do a lot of beautiful things seasonally, in the same way in which the Hilstoch people have existed since time immemorial, is in season. And so yeah, that's my film. So maybe we can watch it and then I can tell you a little bit more.
We're connected to the Dungeness crab. It's part of who we are. Then it's up to us as Hilstoch people to protect our way of life.
So it is very important that the Hilstoch Guardians are on the water every single day to keep the watchful eye on what is actually going on in our territory. Being a Hilstoch Guardian involves keeping an eye on traps, keeping an eye on numbers for crab, making sure that there's no activity going on in designated areas.
Commercial and recreational fishers have had a major impact on crab populations.
When I was a kid, we didn't have to go very far. Like we'd only go, 2 or 3, nautical miles out of the village. But now we're having to go twice that distance. Out of all the areas that we survey, this is the worst area as far as numbers go.
Pretty sad. Say, okay, let's try to figure out how we can start to collect information to make decisions on what happens and how much crab should be taken out of the water.
No injuries, mating marks white.
through the research this year, we'll have 5 areas in the territory protected from a commercial fishery.
We praise the food we eat. You know, our food is part of our culture. Just glad it's not too little too late because we still have the resources. Areas such as this one here have to be shut down and protected. Otherwise, I mean, it will be just completely gone. It is a beautiful country. It is mine. It is ours. And to be a part of the Guardian, to me, is beyond anything I can explain.
I always get chills when he says that at the very end. It like runs through my whole body. So my question for you around this video, and then also something that you and I have conversed a lot about, is you have shared with me that your life is dedicated to sharing the story and the pride and the original ways of knowing and being of your community. How has that linked up with storytelling and being a part of this cohort for you?
Yeah, like for example, for that film, that was our cultural camp Quay that I grew up going to as a youth, and it was a really beautiful experience. We would spend a week out there and we would harvest food, including the Indigenous crab, Kenauk in Hilshukla. And what we would do is we would dive and we'd pick them up by the backs, and they were all around on the beach. And then, as you can see in that film, when those traps came up, they were empty. And so that's story in the way in which, in like my short lifetime, that's changed. And that was my relative, my cousin Doug, who was speaking. And that's not just his experience as a guardian, but his experience as a Hilshuk man living on our waterways. And so I think this platform really offers that ability to share our stories and what's happening in Indigenous territories. And I really love what Thomas King says, like, all we are is stories. Mm-hmm. And it's about, for me, narrating our own story and really being able to highlight from a Hilshuk perspective, and just like my colleagues here, from their own Indigenous perspectives, what's happening on their territory, and being able to tell the story from their own lens, I think is really vital, because for a very long time, people have told our stories for us. And for me, I'm like, I want to reclaim my story. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody to tell my story for me. And so that's why I think it's really important to be a part of this group.
That's so amazing. Okay, so I think next we'll let Lisa introduce herself and the film that she was a part of.
Hello, I'm Lisa Shepard. I'm a Cascadena citizen from Lower Post, part of the Wolf Clan. For the video, I did filming with Tanya Ball and Robbie Porter and Ruby Johnny. We did our river connection, placer mining. It's been a while since I watched the video, so trying to remember what else we talked about our cabin sampling, water sampling, and that.
Amazing. Can we share Lisa's video, please?
My name is Tanya Ball. I work for the Denny Land Guardian program out of Lower Post, BC. Right now we're at Skooks Landing. This area connects the Kachika, the Liard, and Turnagain rivers. The Guardians patrol this area for environmental concerns, wildlife observations. All of this data is shared with the province of BC, as well as compiling our own database for the First Nation.
We've had placer miners within our territory for years. People were dumping oil, diesel, and so one of the biggest concerns is how much of that has gotten into the water. Having the land guardians on the land is so important. We have the eyes and ears on the land, protecting the land.
Skooks area is a very high traffic area between the months of August to the end of October. We do hunter surveys as well as hunter camp observations.
They're all given information, informing them about which territory they are, informing them about policies, educating people about who we are as a Casca people.
There's tons of traditional knowledge and cultural importance connected to the area. Guardians are learning a lot about that with doing patrols and completing them and being out on the land with elders.
My family trapped and hunted and collect traditional medicines in the area for years, and still do to this day. I would like for the land and water users to respect our lands and waters, so the next generation to come have clean land and waters.
We have our own people out there protecting the land.
So good. Okay, so my main question, I think, Lisa, you and I kind of share this history. We both had absolutely no experience coming into filming. So can you tell us a little bit about the learning curve that you had in, you know, busting out your camera all the time and being a part of, as I like to bug you all, as the paparazzi? What did that feel like for you, and what was your learning curve? How did it all roll out?
The biggest learning curve for me was getting used to using the camera for recording and not just taking pictures. And doing the interviews, getting, I don't know, I guess I would be kind of nervous trying to get the best recording for the first time and not retaking it, or and then redoing it again. With Robbie, I ended up recording him like 10 times, and I was like, okay, I'm like, this gotta be good. Like that. And then just taking, like you and Jordan always say, become trigger happy with the camera, which I'm not. I just one kind of snap picture and move on to the next. So taking more pictures of the same thing, was really my biggest learning curves, and trying not to be so nervous trying to, like, when interviewing and recording the person that's I'm recording doing the interview with. Yeah, so
what was it like? Because you said it's been a while since you watched that video. How did it feel to look back and watch something that you created?
Felt pretty good. I'm glad that the team I'm filming with is really good, and we're all in it together, being patient. Just this past winter, Robbie and I went out to do water sampling on the Liard River, and it was only me and him. So we were I was recording, set up the camera, running back and forth, recording, and then not really showing him how to work the camera. I was just like, just hit the red button. He's like, I don't know if it's on. Is it on or is it not on? And then I'd have to run back and check, and then like, oh, it's recording, let's go do this. And yeah, so it's nice to watch the video come together and see what we've made.
And to feel proud of something, right? Like, I think that video is so powerful. And also then the part of it is like having the laughs of like running back and forth and trying to figure things out, and sometimes snapping that really funny shot. Miigwech for sharing. Okay, so our last but not least panelist is Robbie. So Robbie is in the process of working on a film. So we don't have a film to show quite yet for him. However, what I want to talk about with you, Robbie, is the importance of honoring storytelling and making space for sharing our knowledge in that methodology. And I think that's something that you're so incredibly gifted at speaking about. So can you tell us a little bit about why this is so important?
Yeah, my name's Robbie Dick. Casca Denny, Isi Robbie Dick Guya, Tisli Lini Gazila Sta, his Tagadena, Kuyaga Yukon, his Tagadena. I live here in the Yukon. My name's Robbie Dick. I belong to the Casca, and I guess I don't know, since time immemorial, Indigenous people have been natural born storytellers, and it's in our DNA to tell stories. And you look at the Casca word for how to tell a story. In my language, it's gudeji, and that kind of sets a narrative on how to, it's a narrative to speak of something that's either in the past or the present. Someone says, "Wadugudeji," like tell the story. And I guess, yeah, it's in our DNA to tell stories. And just being around people that are really good storytellers can really get a message across. And as you see the panelists sharing their stories of what they've been doing in their communities, is very inspiring. And with this goal in mind, to tell stories of how we've been combating climate change, as well as the changes that we're seeing on the land. It's really important. And there's a lot of significant areas within in our home. There's calving sites for caribou. There's ecology of different plants, and there's little climates that are there's areas that have their own climates, like lakes in the mountains, all that stuff. And it's really important to how do you say it, to close that gap in the monitoring and trying to understand the environment. And I guess today, more than ever, we need more field-based monitoring programs. The Guardians are the solution to that. And our land stewards are measuring and interpreting the effects of climate change and other changes related to not only climate change, but to mining, human activities, people encroaching on in our backyard when it such as hunting. There's a huge impact of hunting here in the Yukon. Ross River and the Casca have been dealing with that for the last little while now. And I guess we see this as a role for the local Guardians to be out patrolling and ground truthing. And it also gives opportunity for our youth. So it's really helping them to connect to the land again.
So clearly this is like something that's incredibly important and critical for your community and for your knowledge keepers. What does it feel like for you to be one of the ones who's participating in that and advocating and sharing and collecting all of that incredible data?
Yeah, it feels I feel pretty privileged to see that over the last 5 to 10 years, we've just been witnessing changes with the land, and it's pretty alarming. And like one of our main concerns right now is caribou, and increasing the extraction. What do you call it? The extraction industry is really putting an impact on our caribou and other stuff too, like human activities. But be able to be part of this and seeing our Guardians on the ground, it's really really good to see, because they're doing stuff that they love to do. And I guess right now for the Ross River, here in Ross River, we have our Guardians. They're helping out with one of the fish camps out at Blind Creek, and that's towards Faro. And Faro was like one of the biggest mines in the 1960s, and our people were displaced because of that mine, and spiritually and physically. So we're trying to reclaim that area, and our guardians are working up there, and in the next few days, there's going to be a tree planting workshop for the reclamation of that mine, the Pharaoh mine, and our guardian's going to be part of that. And we're going to see elders going out there, and it's going to be, it's going to be pretty good. It's not the situation behind it ain't good, but the fact that we have people out there trying to mitigate, mitigate those negative impacts, and reclaiming an area that's really highly significant to the Casca. So we'll see how it goes.
Miigwech for all that you do. So I'm going to throw a question out to the panelists, and I think maybe Gatos, if you could start. So Robbie was just talking about how incredibly important storytelling is to his community. Can you talk about why it's important to your community as well? Or is there anything that you need to add to that, to what Robbie has said?
Yes, Robbie. I 100% agree and with what you're saying. And it's just like what I said before, it's just getting our own stories out. And for us, our word for story is nu yum. And it's the same in what Robbie was talking about, that we've always had stories. We have stories of creation, of how we descend down from our first ancestors, and how we are the land and the land is us. And our names come from the land. And therefore, when we're telling the stories of how we're trying to protect it, we're also telling the stories of how we're trying to protect our nationhood and how we're trying to keep our communities intact. And it's one thing that I really look at. If you have healthy land, you have healthy people. And often on the coast here, people say when the ocean is out, the table is set. And I think that that is similar in the sense of Indigenous people across this country, that if we're able to keep our land and our languages intact, we're able to keep our spirits intact. And, when you see what's happening on Vancouver Island right now is the logging of old growth forests, some of the last ancient old growth forests in the world. And then you see the uncovering of our babies, of 215 babies, and how that's popping up across Canada now. They've just found 70 more over in a residential school in Saskatchewan. And it's all in alignment. It's all in alignment of coming after our spirits and ourselves. And by telling our stories, we're asserting ourselves. For the Cree Nation, when that simple story of looking at the Dungeness crab, and myself of going to this camp when I was a child, and you can see the physical changes. So it's like, what have our grandparents witnessed? What are their stories? And we want to be able to say that we did as much as we could. And in this world of social media, sometimes, like that video that I made, it was just done on an iPhone. And so sometimes, like, that simpleness of just like, hey, like, I need to get the word out there. And I know it can be this like intricate dance, because some of our stories aren't meant to be shared with the world. And so how do we go on this like line of what should we share, and then also not re-traumatizing ourselves and being in this like, it's sharing those good stories too, like sharing those success stories. And it doesn't always have to be like coming from a place of trauma, and being like trauma informed, that, like, look at all these beautiful people who are telling stories, that they're standing up. And like those perspectives of Indigenous people, I think, is also just as important to be shared.
You're so right. Miigwech to both of you for those words. Cody, when at the ending your video, he says, if we take care of the land takes care of us. And I think that kind of ties all of this into it. And I know that, that's something that you walk with as well. Can you talk a little bit about, why you think it's so important for your community to also have these stories be shared?
Sorry, I didn't know I had to do it. it's hand in hand, like, you know, that we need the land, and then without land, you don't have culture either. There's nothing to practice if you don't have land. And you know, it's there has to be a balance for industry and for us to be able to continue that culture and connect with it. So it's very important. I wake up every day to see that continue. And that's who we are, you know, for Cree, for Casca, for, you know, all of us. We belong there, and to be able to renew ourselves in that, and, you know, it's very important.
Glitch. So I certainly gain so much power every time I talk to all of you. I think, you know, the cohort just inspires me and keeps me going and makes me feel like there's a reason to keep moving forward. And it's such a privilege to be connected to all of you. So I'm going to throw it to Lisa, and I think that after that, I'll just end it there. But Lisa, do you want to talk a little bit about how important getting together with like-minded individuals such as all of you is to you, and how that feels then, you know, when you go out and do the amazing things that you do as a guardian and as a storyteller?
Sorry, I just went blank. Well, it's important to have cohort and us that are doing this and getting our stories shared across and tell like our guardian programs and what we're doing and what we want and how we're trying to protect the land for generations to come, and getting our I find that it's, you know, it's really important that working with all of us and making our videos and getting tips from each other and saying, hey, let's, you know, try this or try this, and just getting it out and being able to share traditional ways and what we are trying to protect. And like Miigwech said, you know, it's something that lives in us and that we want to protect, and from our ancestors to carry on and, you know, save drinking water for generations to come and food, and give our children and grandchildren and their kids our traditional foods that we grew up on, having that. So I think it's very important, and it's great to work with each and every one of you on everything that we've come to work with.
Yeah, like exactly like you said, hey, like Ethel had said, be strong like our ancestors. And we're, I think, so much stronger when we're all together. Okay, so I'm going to say a giant miigwech to all of you for participating in today and for sharing all of your knowledge. I think my life is so enriched in, you know, having all of you and calling in my life and calling you my friends. And I can't wait to see what we are able to continue to do together. Miigwech for taking your time and for sharing your knowledge. And you know, I wish that I could offer you tobacco in person, because that's what I'm taught by my ancestors. But please accept this as my most sincere gift giving to you, and for the gifts that you have given back to us and the rest of the people that are listening. Good day.
Jessica.
Must-see Chelsea. Must-see to the storytellers for sharing their powerful videos. for sharing their powerful voices and for the process that they go through to create those videos. So, masi ne desinathe, masi Chelsea. Now, before we take a break, I just wanted to introduce the unique segment into our gathering, and that is Photo Voice. Before the gathering, we reached out to some guardians via email, and we asked them if they would be willing to participate in our Photo Voice segment. So, thankfully, they were open to that. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask our tech team to screen share our first photo story. So this photo was submitted by Charlotte Denny. Charlotte is a earthkeeper from Cape Breton. Now I might say this wrong, Unamaki in Nova Scotia. Charlotte, you can correct my pronunciation, please do. And if I could invite you now to share the story behind this photograph.
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi. Gwe ni dali si salo down. Wedebek si unamagi. Mi mai. Elogwe unamagi elogohom. Anko de minage gimitkinu. Wigi esisohani, Nova Scotia. Greetings, my name is Charlotte Denny. I am from the traditional unceded Mi'kmaq territory of the Maritimes. I'm from Eskasoni, Nova Scotia, the largest Mi'kmaq reserve east of Montreal. I am a Mi'kmaq natural resource technician for Unamaki Institute of Natural Resources. I work with the Nuji Gidlodadijik Earthkeeper Network, and that is being developed here in Nova Scotia. And our earth keepers are guardians of our traditional territories to ensure proper harvesting of wildlife, medicines, natural resources without compromising its sustainability for future generations. This is a picture of me and my fellow observer during a moose survey in the Cape Breton Highlands National Park in Nova Scotia. It's a part of a comprehensive moose management plan that was developed in partnership with Mi'kmaq Grand Council, Unamagi's Council of Elders, the provincial government, and the federal government. The moose of Unamagi were enlisted endangered in 2003, and the need to survey its population, distribution, composition, and sustainability of harvest levels. In 2004, the survey population was approximately 4,200. So the aerial surveys, we go out and we survey the animals from 300 feet up. We basically have a team of 4 to 5 inside the helicopter, and we document the population in given sex. There's like rectangular sex, and the entire Cape Breton's Highlands Park is all mapped out in different sex, and we painstakingly fly through each sect of the Highlands and calculate the numbers. The moose aerial surveys plus the hunter reporting data is important for calculating the moose populations and its health. So I participated in this moose aerial survey in February 2020 in partnership with Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources and Parks Canada. I'm pictured here in a helicopter, woo, with a fellow observer from Parks Canada. I don't have any pictures of any moose, unfortunately, because the fact that we couldn't effectively observe the population and take pictures at the same time. We're lucky. We had 10 staff volunteers and of our Unamagi and Institute, and with the help with Parks Canada and Department of Natural Resources. We had 12 flight days. The little history of the moose, the Cape Breton moose is from the introduction of 18 Elches and discerning moose from Alberta that were introduced in 1947 and 1948. The population exploded in numbers, but like I said before, there was a decline in population in 2003, which led to them being listed endangered. So the exact number of moose that we surveyed in February 2020 is not really given to the general public, but the current population is showing sustainable harvest levels with the numbers above 10,000, I would say. Can't really say too much more. So I'm not really sure if I went over that 5 minutes.
No, that was wonderful. Must see, Charlotte. We really appreciate your participation, and please make sure you enter the form so we can enter you into our swag draw. So for anyone else who is interested in submitting a photograph, we would encourage participants to post a photograph to our private Facebook group, and we can incorporate that into our landing page. But if you post a photograph and participate in Photo Voice, we'd like to enter you into a draw for swag as our thank you for participating and making those connections. We want to see all the photographs and we want to hear all the stories. So must see, Charlotte, for kicking us off with Photo Voice. At this point, we'd like to invite you all to take a short break, and we'd like to offer up our apologies. We've gone a little bit over in our time this morning, and so we are going to try and pull back some time from the break. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Please use the bathroom, get a drink of water, move around, and we're going to come back in 5 minutes for a quick explanation on how to get to small tent, share a photograph, and then go into our small tent session. So see you all in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I don't know about you, but I was definitely chair dancing in my chair to those awesome beats. So to kick us off from break, as people kind of come back to their computers, I'd like to showcase another photo. So tech team, if you could please put up the photo from Hannah Martin, that'd be great. And I'd just like to now invite Hannah to share her story. For those of you on Zoom with us today, Hannah is an earth keeper from Millbrook First Nation in Nova Scotia. Welcome, Hannah, and thank you for sharing.
Gway, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. Willie exit bugam sit or Willie giskig. Nindalawisi Hannah Godlin Maltai. Deleoi Taha Maguch Nigmagi. Wiggy Millbrook First Nation. Ablugwe Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. My name is Hannah Martin, and I'm from the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. I grew up in a place called Dahmiguch, which is the place where the water is barred by sand, and that's where I'm calling in from today, at my parents' house today for a couple of days. But I am living in Millbrook First Nation, where I work for the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq, which is one of 2 tribal councils that makes up the Nijigalodo Hadajig Earthkeeper Network, which Charlotte, my colleague and friend, spoke about a few minutes ago. And today, I should also mention I'm the project coordinator for the Nijigalodo Hadajig Earthkeeper Network for the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. So not only am I developing the foundation of the network in Nova Scotia alongside folks at Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources, but I'm also taking on the role of an earthkeeper currently on the ground. So the photo that I'm showing today is a picture of me with one of our sacred black ash trees last year in the summer of 2020. And the story behind this tree, I should start off with saying that the reason why the black ash are sacred for us as Mi'kmaq people is that we have a long history of working with this tree as a craft wood. Our livelihood as Mi'kmaq people is in part focused around this particular species, and we traditionally use it for baskets, which you can see I featured, there's a basket featured in this photo made of black ash. And we also use this tree for things like tool handles, canoe ribs, snowshoes, musical instruments like jigamahun, and many other things that played a critical role in our lifestyle and our livelihood traditionally and also today. I'm also a Mi'kmaq basket maker. I was taught by Magiju, my grandmother, and I carry this with me in my personal life, and obviously now it's a part of my work as an earth keeper. In this photo, we unfortunately had to harvest this tree, but this tree has been given a new life as craft wood in our communities. In this photo, we worked with the province of Nova Scotia to mitigate a black ash transplantation, which is one of the first of its kind in the province, where we actually transplanted a number of seedlings, full-size trees and stumps to a new location where they're actually thriving currently. So this day we gathered and we had ceremony for the Wisco, for the black ash. And unfortunately, this particular tree was a little bit too big to be transplanted. So as I mentioned, it's been given a new life as craft wood and has been distributed to Mi'kmaq communities where it can be continue its life as a basket or as a tool within our communities. So this project was really significant because it started an ongoing relationship with the province of Nova Scotia. We're now working with them on a number of different projects to make sure that we're protecting the black ash as much as we can. It's now a provincially listed species at risk, so this has become a major part of my work as an earth keeper in Mi'kmaq territory, and yeah, I'm very excited to share this work with all of you. We're in year 3 of our pilot here. We're a fairly new network, so there's plenty of work to do, and I just want to say thank you and Wilal Yok to all the presenters, to our elders, and to all the other guardians across the land from coast to coast to coast. I also want to share my condolences and my empathy and my grief with everyone this week as we are mourning the loss of all of our children. And we're reminded of that loss through the recent discovery in Kamloops. So we're thinking about you here, we're doing ceremony for you here, and we're praying for you, and we're praying for our collective healing. And I just want to share that with everyone too. And we're sending that to you from the East Coast. So Walalio, Msitnogama, all my relations.
Masi Nedu Sinathan. I say thank you to you, and I loved hearing your language. That was wonderful. I did catch your word for grandmother. I want to share that I do believe in Gwich'in. The word for grandmother is Jiju, which sounded very similar.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your voice and for sharing your photo. And please don't forget to fill out the form so we can make sure to enter you into the swag draw for your participation today. Now, as we shift into small tent, I just want to give some explanation one more time on how to get there. So we're about to head out of this Zoom webinar and into a Zoom meeting room where you'll be able to hear 2 wonderful presentations. The first from our Toyota Guardians in Fort Good Hope. They are going to share about how they are integrating Indigenous knowledge and elders into their management and research planning. And then the second presentation will be delivered by the Mikisew Cree, who will share their perspectives on how to tackle climate change and integrate Indigenous knowledge into that. So in order to find your small tent meeting details, they have been emailed to you in your participant guide. So once you leave this meeting, please check for your unique meeting details for your small tent session. Like I said at the beginning, we are sorted into 4 small tent settings, and we will go through a moderated process where we'll be able to see our video presentations and then host small group discussions. I'm really looking forward to having a chance to connect with some of you in small group setting. And once we're done in our small tent setting, we will leave that session. You'll get the instructions again during that time, and we'll come back to this exact same link to end our day. So Masi, and I will see you all in your small tent. Hi, everyone. I can see folks are finding their way back. So maybe we'll just give them a minute to join because I can see our participant list growing. All right. I hope you guys were all able to find your small tent sessions seamlessly, and that you had some really good discussions. I know I really enjoyed the breakout discussions in the small tent sessions that I was in. It was really great to get to talk to you guys and hear your perspectives. So must see for that. I just want to check in to see if we were able to locate our next photo storyteller. And yes, I agree. Not enough time in breakout. I felt like right when we were getting to the heart of our experience sharing, we got that 1 minute countdown. So I agree. All right. I can still see people are still joining us. So I'm just going to keep chatting to you all for a few more minutes while we wait for a few more people to join. Thank you everyone for coming back to Big Tent so that we can close off our day together. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. I'm getting the notices that we have our photo storyteller about ready to share. I'm just going to ask our tech team to message. Okay. Bear with us while we get ourselves organized a little bit further. Thank you, tech team, for posting some more links in the chat. So that way, as people join, I'll just throw out a few reminders to everyone. There's a link there for our private Facebook group. If you haven't joined, please do. If you're a TikToker like me, please TikTok. I can't wait to see people's TikTok. And we've already started to get some photo voices, photo voice photos on our private Facebook page. So that's been great. If you do TikTok or you do photo voice, please fill out the form to enter our draw for swag. Okay. We are just still trying to find our photo voice storyteller. To fill out the form for swag, if you're on the private Facebook page, you'll find it easily there. And perhaps somebody from tech could, oh, thank you. There's the form for a link to the form for the photo voice storytellers to fill out. Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Bart. Okay. Have we located our photo storyteller? Thank you for your patience, everyone. I know we've gone over on our day, but we just had so many great voices to share. Jack, if you can hear me, would you please put in the chat a hello so that our tech team can find you? Oh, there they are. They found you. Perfect. Let's share his photo. Welcome, Jack. So nice to have you join us. Thank you for agreeing to share a story with us about your photograph. And if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself, and we're all here to hear from you.
Okay, so how long do I have? 2 minutes, 1 minute?
Yeah, we're a little over time. So I know initially we had suggested 5, but if you feel like you can share it in a shorter time frame, I'll leave it with you.
Okay, I'm going to try to condense my story into 1 minute. This picture that you're actually seeing is the guy that's holding his arms out. His name is Gordon Panunzi. He's one of our guardians that looks after all the Innu territory in Inadasina and Shehajit. The place that I'm wanted to concentrate is this is the place that is much one of the places, I guess, in terms of significance and sacred to the Innu. It is called Mememegwishu Napi. And the lateral translation of that is there's a lot of people right now in social media are getting really frenzy on the idea that there's people, as in creatures, living in this lake. And social media has gotten a little berserk on that. So we're trying to slow down the pace, and we're trying to slow down the idea about the process about people going in and going into this territory in our area. So Mememegwishunapi is the lake. It's what the lake is called, but the people that live there, and they're people that we would call sacred people, and we don't see them, they're just there. And this is a place that they live, and they're called Mememegwishut. And it's a place out in the Akami-Wabash, which is the new development of the national park on the central area of Labrador. And it's probably, I think it's 46 possible parks in national park in Canada. So this is the area that I wanted to talk about, and it's an area that is really special to the Innu. It's a place that we probably this is a place that we see that we tell stories about our other generations of people in terms of our children. It's the place that we that is highly regarded and respected. That and these are people that live there. This is the people. When you actually look at the picture and you look at straight to the valley, and there's a flat rock that goes right to the edge of the lake. And the story is that these Mememegwishut people, they live, and there's a doorway there. If you ever seen the movie Lord of the Rings, and there's a doorway that passes into the mountains. Well, basically that's the same story. And I'm pretty sure that what's his name? The author stole that story, stole our stories, and presented it itself as the Lord of the Rings. But that's our story in terms of Mememegwishut. People live there. They're like regular people, and but they don't associate with civilized or in terms of contemporary world. There are people that we protect. There are people that communicate to us and that tell, oh, I'm out, I'm gone, time out.
I was enthralled.
What?
I was just enthralled by your story, Jack.
Oh, the picture's gone, so I don't know what to say now. I thought I was deleted.
Oh, well, there we go.
I'm really gone.
Let's let Jack close his story. Sorry, finger slip from our tech team.
Okay, so yeah, so where was I? How long do I have now? I can't even remember. Yeah, Creature Lake. What else can I talk about these people? Like I said, they're like regular people. They don't associate with civilized or contemporary worlds. They're people that we have a conversation with, that they need us as we need them. And they're part of our lives as Innu people, and as guardians, it is essential that we protect this area. And through social media, we've been very, very secret. Like any other First Nations communities in this world, sometimes our stories are secret, and we don't normally would share that to other people. But because of social media and everything else, in the last 10 years or so, our oral history, our oral stories have been translated. And then when somebody had got a hold of that, they basically said, where is this place? And then through through research, through investigations and everything else, people have found where they live. And this is something that is critical to us, that we need to protect this area because of its sacredness and because of that has been our role, I guess, in terms of guardians, our role as Innu people. You know, we don't go in there to disturb. We go there to communicate and have those discussions, but not to disturb and take away anything. So we, as guardians here in Shahajit, in Labrador and Nudisinan, we have a very, very important role that we play as guardians. And it's not just, you know, in terms of environment, in terms of water and conservation, in terms of wildlife. We have a bigger role that we play here in Labrador. And so we encourage other people as well to somehow, in some way, understand that, you know, not every guardian is protecting the waters, the environment, the wildlife. We go beyond that. We also are protecting our ancient and oral histories and oral stories about our people. So I don't know if I said enough or I said too much.
That was perfect. Must see, Jack. And we're sorry for the slip of the finger that interrupted your wonderful story. In my community, we have similar places on the land where we recognize that there are spiritual beings that live in the water. So must see for that. Must see Nedusinathet. So as we come to the end of our day, I'd like to invite back Nijitzel Norbert to share with us her graphic images that she's been capturing throughout our day. And we'll have a chance tomorrow morning to see the final project. But if you could just share with us where you got.
Sounds good. What an inspiring day. Today we were talking about the heart of guardian work. And then eventually you're going to see a hand come in here, because I thought that was a really sort of beautiful way to bring in our hands and the way that we are on the land. You know, it's language, it's our hands and how we use them. So that's going to be included. But I'll start over here with Ethel. So we had the Honorable Ethel, Juan, and Andrew give us a beautiful story, and she started us off right away with the future looks good. And I just thought that's such a beautiful way to think about the future. She's incredibly proud to be part of this Guardians movement and spoke very fondly about why this movement is so important. I also included 2 photos from her childhood here, just as a beautiful remembrance and an honoring of that time in her life. There was another quote, so I have a raven here. It says, "We are like the raven, we renew the land, and we also like to laugh while we do it." So I'm Gwich'in, and we have good humor, so I thought, you know, let's bring in some joy. So we also then moved into Deputy Grand Chief Mandy Gull, and she brought us a lot of beautiful information, but I really wanted to bring in this amazing 20% of their territory is now under protection, and they're moving to possibly 30%. So I really wanted to celebrate that. Her message of being unique in your approach when building beautiful things for your nation was another beautiful quote here. And then what you'll see tomorrow revealed is a point about the sharing circle and the screening of the storytellers, moderated by Chelsea. We had Cody, Lisa, Katuas, and Robbie. And so I have a number of amazing points that I'm going to add there. And then bringing in the side here, there's going to be the 3 photo stories. So we heard from Charlotte, Hannah, and Jack. So I'll include points from that, and you will see that tomorrow. So thank you, and have a good night, everyone.
Wonderful. And Nijitzel, if you'd like the videos from the breakout sessions to inspire the graphic from today, we've got the links in the chat, links on Facebook. We could email them to you as well. Awesome. Thank you, Nijitzel. So to end our day, I'd like to invite Bev to join and provide some closing remarks. Bev is one of our senior ILI leadership advisors. For those who missed her introduction yesterday during our live kickoff, Bev is a former counselor and a chief of the Hutsilk. I feel like I mess up that name every time I say it, so please say it again. First Nation, and Bev served as an advisor to the BC Treaty Commission. Bev is an author. She wrote 2 books, They Called Me Number One, which is a memoir of her time in residential school. And she also wrote Price Paid, The Fight for First Nation Survival. If you haven't read those books, I encourage you to look them up. They are required reads for every UBC Saunders School of Business. So welcome, Bev, and thank you for offering us our final closing.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank our 2 hosts, Val and Dati, who are doing an amazing job. And I also want to thank all the people that are working behind the scenes to make this conference run really smoothly. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, how do I do justice to summing up today with the theme, the heart of guardian work? And first of all, you know, the music with Twin Flames was a great way to open, so uplifting and inspiring. And all the music throughout the day, I don't know who picks it, but you've got good taste, so thank you for that. And the art of Nijitsu, the graphic recorder, what an amazing way to record our conference. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the days. Yesterday, on her graph from yesterday, I was pleased to see the young guardians front and center on her graph. And after yesterday, I had an exchange with my friend Shauna Yeomans Lindstrom, and I thanked her for the amazing work that she was doing. And she in turn thanked me and said she has learned a lot from me over the years. And I told her that all the learning she was doing, that she now is also teaching the younger generation. All these guardians, they're all learning, but they're also teaching. And I certainly learned a lot from them today. And so the knowledge is in a circle, and we have to keep sharing it in all directions, and not just with Indigenous people. We don't live in a bubble. And so in order to protect our future, we have to teach, we have to learn, and we have to work with everyone, combine all of that information. And I can never stress enough how much my good friend and colleague, Ethel Blondin Andrew, has to teach. She's one of my heroes. She walks in the world of her Indigenous people and she walks in the non-Indigenous world as well. And to be successful, you've got to know both. Every time I listen to her speak, I learn so much from her. ILI is truly fortunate to have her in our circle. I could go on all day about Ethel, but I'll just zero in on something she said. And this is a quote, maybe not a direct quote, but this is what I wrote down. Work we are doing is part of the antidote to all the atrocities we have gone through, and the linkages between the nations are needed to protect all of it. So to me, her message of healing and strength in numbers is the key. Thank you, Ethel. I have always had such great respect for the Cree Nation, and listening to Deputy Grand Chief Mandy Gull was a real treat. She had so much to share, and I'm not even going to try to get into summarizing it on how they are trying to protect their culture and their territories, while at the same time dealing with the realities of newcomers in their territories. Wow, what a great example to learn from. And they are there to continue to learn from others, but also offered their help in whatever way they could for those interested. The sharing circle with storytellers was done beautifully with Chelsea as the host, and I loved all the Guardian photo stories as well. Those were great. I loved all the videos and can relate to the challenges of doing a film. I am in the process of my first attempt of doing a film, so I know what you're going through. All the videos were great, and I was glad to see Robbie Dick in with the group. I met Robbie when Dave Porter, an ILI colleague, invited us to a place deep in the Cascadena territory. We flew to Whitehorse, then we traveled about 10 hours by truck, and the last 2 hours we had to go by quad. And Robbie was my quad driver. And I tell you, the terrain we went through made me want to walk at times. We were going and we came to this hill and we stopped at the top of the hill and I looked down and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going down there. Robbie says, oh yeah, it'll be fine. So I said, oh, okay. Then we get to a creek and huge boulders in it and water coming down. I was thinking we're going to be washed away. But Robbie, with his skills, barreled through it. I didn't think we were going to make it across, but Robbie didn't even flinch. He'd probably done this 1,000 times while my knuckles were white hanging on to the back of the quad. But Robbie knew his territory. I didn't. And so he was very comfortable with every inch we traveled. And just as a side note, it took the others 2 hours and maybe a little more to reach the destination we were going to. But Robbie got me there in an hour and a half and very safe. We weren't even close to tipping over at any time. And so my point is, you know your territories better than anyone else. You are the ones who need to be out there. And it just makes me so proud to hear of all the work you are doing. The love you have for your territories and your people shine through loud and clear. Keep up the good work, and thank you to everyone who has attended, to participate, to contribute, and to learn. And I will end with the quote by one of the storytellers, and I'm sorry, I wrote down a lot, but I didn't write down who said it, and maybe somebody could put it in the chat box. And the quote was, if we are able to keep our lands intact, we can keep our spirits intact. And that's how we're going to heal. So go outside and enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Merci, Bev. Merci to everyone for joining us today. We look forward to tomorrow. And in closing, we'd like to offer up all of these beautiful thank you messages in the different Indigenous languages from across our country. And thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow.